And we're live.
Wait, okay.
Right questions right before. Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Agents who win here, Todd Schroth and Ruben Garcia, coach up in North Carolina. Wanted to just welcome him to the show today and thank everyone for being here. Happy Friday. So, Ruben, why don't you just kind of dive into some things for our audience here? You know, we're streaming live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So we've got audiences from a different mix of social media spots. So want to kind of dive in, you know, and just talk about your real estate career for a second, how you got started, where you started, and, you know, kind of evolving to today.
Okay, how I got started. So I was working at UPS for 12 years. My 10th year, I said, you know what, man, I don't know if I want to do this because I was a single father too. And so what you'll see at UPS is that there's a lot of time at work, especially during the holidays. And I was like, man, if I'm the only one doing this parent thing, I really got to figure out what I'm going to do in terms of time. So I had a few people tell me I'd be great at sales. And I said, okay, man, if I'm going to sell something, let me sell the biggest thing I can think of. And at the time, it was a house. So I went to school. I did real estate school, got my license. So I was in real estate, UPS, single father, all at one time for about 10 months before I finally quit UPS after being there for 12 years and went full time into real estate. So real estate wasn't a passion. It wasn't anything I was super excited to get into. It was only a way out of my situation.
Right. So when you, I mean, it's an awesome story too, because it's like that UPS alone, I'm hoping you didn't do it during the summer because you're working 80 hours a week.
Oh yeah, I did it.
You're a rock star.
Anytime they needed me, that's where Proven by Ruben came from. It was from UPS. So yeah. It was that or Super G because they called me Garcia. So like anytime they needed something, they knew they could reach out to me. I mean, I was a workaholic. So
so when you're, you know, so you started, what was the company you started with?
I started with COLLAB.
Okay.
I was there for 4 or 5 months. Wasn't there long because I built my own sign. I mean, like I just built it myself and drew on it and put it together. And then I slapped their magnets that they gave us to put on our cars. I just slapped them both together like this and kind of hung them from a sign. So I'd be real estate commission. Good to go. And COLLAB did not like that. So
no, you've got to be completely uniform.
Yeah, exactly. And then I realized like at some level I wasn't really allowed to brand myself the way I wanted to.
Right.
So it just wasn't a good fit as much as I thought it was going to be, and so I left. What
got you into branding right away? Because normally people getting started don't think about branding and all that stuff. And you know, that is one thing with the Colwells and, you know, the bigger box brokerages, they don't allow you to redesign what they're doing. The difference of EXP and Keller Williams is, you know, they want you to build a business and work alongside them versus, you know, having, you know, and you can create your own colors, you can create your own stuff versus having the standard sign. I mean, I understand recognition, but, you know, hey, I'm the one building this.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so funny because you could sit back now and watch as everyone evolves, but it was the same people who were laughing at you years ago, right? Like you're starting to see the bigger box say, okay, well, I guess you can put your picture on the sign. You know, like they're making these small increment moves of growth of something that we've been doing for years and years and years. So it's interesting to watch. They used to beat up teams. Like teams were crap and why would anybody want? Well, look who's adopting it now. So it's very funny to watch now. But I guess I knew that I wanted to brand myself because I knew I was different. And I knew I had to stick out. I knew I couldn't be uniformed. And that's really, I guess, what kind of started it. I just like, man, I do things different, you know? And so I was creative from the beginning. But I think I needed to be in order to separate myself from the big wigs that were in the business, you know?
Right. Well, you almost have to, and you create your own brand, and that's just an awesome little story because you're coming out brand new, wanting to do that already. So then when you left Coldwell Banker, where did you end up going?
So I had the opportunity to help grow a team at Keller Williams.
Okay.
So I left and I went to Keller Williams and, helped with like some of the name of what this team was going to be, which kind of filtered or kind of rubbed my branding, bug that I had. So, but you were allowed to brand there, this whole concept of capping and profit share. And like, it was just different than what I've heard in the past. So, but it was more about the opportunity. I went and helped grow that team. In our market, I think we're at like 150 as an average sales price, and we did 12 million our first year. So it was fun, man. It was a lot of good. I learned so much at Keller Williams, but that was one of the big moves that I did in the beginning was Colwell to KW.
So you just transitioned to eXp Realty. What brought you over there? What made you think, hey, this guy KW over here, I'm really rocking and rolling, and I mean now there's the new model. What was the idea to make that change?
Yeah, so I've been here for 2 years. No, a little over 2 years now. So, I was at KW, man, I'm probably gonna mess this up, but probably 4 years. That could be a guess. But grew a team, became a CEO or the team leader at the office, did that, broke all-time records with our team. With our leadership team, then moved into productivity coaching, which was the locker room at the time.
Okay.
Did that there, broke all-time records. So I was very infiltrated into KW life. However, I remember one time at a regional meeting, people stood up and they were just talking about EXP, just how they're taking their agents, how do we stop this thing? And I remember I raised my hand, and this is a room full with what they call OPs, which is the operating partners, the TLs, the team leaders, investor groups. They were all in this, along with the regional guy on stage. Yeah, it was a big deal. And I remember I raised my hand. I said, "Hey guys, why don't we just go back to," because this is what they used to always say, creating a company that nobody wants to leave. And if we focus on that, maybe people won't be leaving. And because another thing KW, or at least that culture says, is what you focus on expands. And that didn't come from KW. It's just, that's what they say a lot. And I'm like, man, if we keep focusing on EXP, what do you think is going to expand? But they basically, in a nice way, told me to sit down. They are our competitor. We got to, and it just went on. And so I said, you know what, let me look at this thing then.
Yeah.
And I left. It didn't help. I don't think that it was such a conversation in that room. And I left. I looked at it. I talked to friends about it. And then that office actually kicked out the locker room because of regional pressure. They wanted max coaching in that office. I didn't want that, but it just a lot of stuff started to change within that world, stuff that I didn't believe in versus what I usually loved about KW was starting to get watered down, and it just started not to be the place I wanted to be. And then there's this quote out there that goes, "Don't complain about what you tolerate." And at some level, I was complaining every time I walked into that office. And once it hit me, like internally, like, oh, it's my fault because I'm deciding to show up here every day.
Right.
That is when I guess I said, you know what, I can make a change. And I did. I think it was 2 days later, I switched. As soon as I made that mental switch in my head that it was my fault, 2 days later, I switched and went to EXP.
So we made the move about 2.5 years ago. It was the same thing. It was like once we saw it, we just like in 18 years at the other company. So it was a hard decision to make the move. And so it was like, but it was just the things that were there and the tools that we found to have access to. But it is the mental thing. And, once you start digging in, you really start doing the research, it's there's a lot of opportunity on the other side. But I listened to a lot of brokers here, as they kept talking about it, it keeps bringing it up. So then you're going to dig in and find out and do your own research. And we've got brokers here in their meetings screaming about the company and how bad they are and all this stuff. I'm like, all you're doing is giving us more promotion. And this is not a show about EXP. It's more just like when people are sitting here complaining, you give more attention to the complaining.
That's right.
And your quote, you just said, was it don't complain about what you tolerate. And that actually resonates with me because I've got some things that we have going on constantly that it's like all we do is complain about it, but we don't do anything about it. And so because we tolerate it, now you need to stop tolerating and actually correct the problems.
That came out of the book Extreme Ownership. With 2 SEAL guys, Navy SEAL guys. And They basically say that don't complain about what you tolerate. And if you keep tolerating it and not change it, you've created the substandard of your whole company. And so it goes a little bit deeper into that.
Yeah. So it's the things that's I'm actually taking something away from the show, which is great. Thank you. It's just like a coaching session.
I love it.
So, 6 years in the business, you're what, 6-7 years in the business now? 8 years?
A little over 7 years.
Okay,
or
cool.
Maybe, I'm terrible with time. Let me say 7 years just to be safe.
I started in 2000, so it's easy number to remember. 21 years.
Right.
All I know is every January I have that new anniversary of my real estate career.
Nice. It's perfect.
Yep. So it's like when I left Remax, it was January. It was actually December 18th, 2018. So we're like now 2.5 years, or 2 years and 7 months, 2 years, 8 months, 2 years, 9 months.
Right.
Going on.
Wow.
But so what got you involved in the coaching side? Being a newer agent, were you just taking a lot in and able to give back?
Well, when we started growing the team, I started realizing how much I like to amp people up, get people excited.
Yeah.
I love that part of the process of watching people grow. And then when I took the TL role at KW, which I thought was going to be a coaching, like helping agents grow, I knew there was some recruiting, but I didn't think it was as much. That is the focus.
Yeah.
So that kind of, although I learned a lot from that, I think at that point, I really started to lean into helping grow the company, which really wasn't a large regional high five thing to do. It was more, you should be recruiting. But I figured if we coached and focused on the people within the office, it kept the back door closed. And if it kept the back door closed, we could bring people in the front door and keep them. But it became this revolving door thing. But I stopped it by focusing, again, turning more into a coach consultant for the people within the office. And that's what helped us break all-time records every month. And then we needed a coaching person within the office because we were having an all-time record in cappers.
Yeah.
However, once you're capped, there's no company dollar coming to the office. Right. So we needed some people to get more into production, and that's what introduced the productivity coach. People said MAPS. I said nope. And I started learning what else was out there. I met Jake Dixon at the locker room, and I said, man, I think I like this product better. I left the TL position to grow that, kind of replaced myself as the TL in that office, grew the productivity coaching program out of 2 KW offices, broke all-time records, and it was all because of the locker room and their systems and everything they had. And that's what really got me in the role, was growing the team, being the TL CEO of that office, and then later growing the productivity coaching business program out of that office, 2 offices.
So let's talk about coaching for a second, because I use Follow Up Boss as my database program, and they sent an email out today, had the top 40 coaching programs that were out there. When I started 20 years ago, again, aging myself, but I grew up in this industry. My mom's, since the early 70s, late 60s, having a real estate license. So I've seen it all, been around it all, know a lot of the brand names that are out there, have been out there for 30, 40 years as far as coaching. There's a lot of coaching companies that have come around in the last probably 15 years, and people who've developed new systems. They've taken other platforms and modified them to make them either updated or just a little bit easier or refined. But let's take the locker room coaching versus MAPS coaching. What's the big difference, and really why should someone look at the locker room?
Yeah, so I was coached by MAPS coaching. I was also coached by Corcoran coaching too, but I was coached by MAPS when I was at Keller Williams, both as TL role and growing the team there as well. One of the things is that, at least my time there, MAPS was very much focused on pushing the model from the Red Book, from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And you had to follow that model, to a T. What I found was that there's a lot of overhead in that model. And for some people, that's awesome and that's cool. But there's also liability issues. And how can you take pieces but create your own team? out of that, and you can't do that. You have to follow the model. So it's very box built, can't be too creative out of that. At one time, they approached me to be a MAPS coach, but there is a large recruiting thing you have to do as well, and getting more people into MAPS. And I didn't want to do that, and I wasn't really about that life. I just wanted to help people grow a business. So those two things, box style and like recruiting, if you become a coach there, I wasn't really, I wasn't part of that. And I didn't want to be part of that. With the locker room, it's way more tailored. I mean, we've found 3 other ways to grow a real estate team outside of the MREA, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, that work very well. And one that we use, which is called the Pass Play, you kind of talked on that. So it's very tailored. Like, what is your goals? Like the email I sent you, tailored. How we're going to make this thing happen. It's not like, okay, I like your idea, but if we just follow the one thing, if we go back to the MREA book, let's open it up, man. Let's explore. But that's not what I want to create. So it's way different at the locker room. It's way more tailored to your specific goals and the agents on your team.
So what are some of the top tools that someone can pull out of the locker room to help them grow their business?
So I guess their flagship, as you would say, is, and this wasn't around when I first started, which I wish it was, it'd make things way easier, but it's called Track Plus. It is their 16-week program to help agents get from wherever they're at to breaking through their next level. I mean, it's got everything in it. Everything. It would have been so much easier to run that play back when I was a productivity coach. So, but that Track Plus is their flagship. But outside of that, they have all the plug and play type of tools. So if you own your own firm, if you own a big team, it's anytime you have like, man, what's the next class we should teach, or what's the next mastermind? It's all plug and play. It's got what do you call them? Basically the scripts for the person who's teaching the class. I forget what that document's called.
I know what you're talking about, but it's like the agenda to go off of.
Yeah, exactly. All that's there. They also have Core, which is the center of real estate, where you can track all your numbers month over month, year over year, year to date numbers. I'm a numbers freak, so all that stuff's awesome as well. And then they got their huge university of classes for everything that you need. If you have an agent who's struggling on the buyer side, agent who's struggling on the seller side, agent who's struggling in lead generation to fit their disc profile, like on and on and on and on. It's all there. So it's a one-stop shop for everything you need.
So let's talk about the last thing you just mentioned, the lead generation for towards the disc profile. What are some of the leads? So if I'm a high D, what type of leads should I be going for?
So you are probably a lot better at going and getting the business for the people that are difficult to work with. So maybe like a for sale by owners and expireds, like you would probably go get those people a lot better than a high I, or definitely an S or a C that may feel a little bit more uncomfortable. You don't even care. You just want the result. And so does that for sale by owner or expired. They just want the result. So going into that situation, you may do very well with that.
What's like a high I? What is a good avenue for them?
You just need to go out. You need to go talk to people. You need to be part of more events. You need to be part of more networking events, Facebook Lives. Like getting your energy out there is what's going to be a really good way to attract more people.
How about a high S?
High S is going to be way more comfortable. So they're going to look for more comfort. So they're probably a little bit better at their circle of influence, like their sphere of influence, the people they know, love, and trust. Because it's a little bit more comfortable, then they're not going to door knock. I'll tell you that. They're not going to door knock, and they're going to feel a little uncomfortable doing Facebook Lives and putting themselves out there. Just talking to the people that they know that it's not going to get too out of hand is just going to be better for them.
So let's go to the last one, a high C. What do you recommend there?
I would say just put them in the admin role. They probably belong in the admin role. They're really good at systems, crossing T's, dotting I's. They will find every mistake that you have done as a salesperson and make it better. I would say that, but at the same time, that team that we help grow at KW, our main admin person, when I left to EXP, that she left that team and became an individual agent. I think she closed 17 homes last month.
Yeah.
So Yeah, so she is an absolute rock star. And so I don't know, does that break the concept of some of the disc, or there's just some people, or maybe she did a really good job of watching the business for years.
Yeah.
And when she dived in, she really had the systems and models to help back up what she had to say and help people buy and sell. And she is a monster out there. She's awesome.
So you didn't talk about, in those four letters, this lead generation like Zillow or Google or Realtor.com is good for a high D, I, S, or C. You talked about like you're good, as high D's for sale boundaries expired. It's high I is going to be going out social events. High S is going to work their sphere. C is going to go, potentially be the admin. I've talked to one of our other. And there are some great. I mean, again, I'm not an admin by trade. I'm glad I have some good admin. They've been around me for a long time, because I'm better off talking to people and working the business.
Right.
But one of our other partners goes, I got, and I don't know which letter he uses towards which one, but he goes, these people are good at Google. They're awesome at pay-per-click. If I put these people on Zillow, they're going to fail. And I'm like, so is one better than the other on the Zillow versus the, online versus offline, whatever.
Right. No, at the end of the day, it's a team, right? Like salespeople wouldn't be, we couldn't get as far as we think we can without some solid admin who corrects those mistakes that we're constantly making. We make a mess. It's gross behind us, and they're just so good at putting things where they need to go. And they love that world. But here's the deal with the paperclips, the Zillows, the Realtor.coms is that I'm a high net guy.
Yeah.
So I want to spend time on, yes, gross is enough revenue, but I don't want there to be a huge gap between gross and net, and Realtor.com, Zillow, at certain levels, it becomes a high expense. I understand there are teams out there that are killing it and do really good on those platforms. But what we do and what I focus on other people doing is just creating their own database. And if you are getting the Zillows and everything else, all that those leads should be going into your database that you can nurture forever. And those deals kind of compound with the people that you got from Zillow, that you've created these systemized conversations with them. And that doesn't cost a thing. Having that doesn't cost a thing. This costs something. We're only in our database, and we do pretty well on it on kicking off because we run the pass play. So there's referrals versus us running those leads. But anyways, I say all that to say, I don't talk about the Zillows or all that because I want to challenge myself to run the highest net business possible.
Right. So let's go into Pass Play. What is the Pass Play program that you have that you created?
So Pass Play got created after I went to a 10X Growth Con, which is a Grant Cardone event, which now he's with EXP, or him and his wife. But this was years ago, man, in Miami. And I got kind of tested by somebody in the audience who said, what are you going to do if your plane goes down on the way home? And I was like, shoot, I guess I die. And he was like, that's right, you do. You die. He was like, so what happens to your business? Yeah. And I said, well, my business dies too, because at that time I was just a productivity coach.
Yeah.
Very, very active. And he was like, okay, so you're a father, right? And I was like, yeah. He was like, so what happens to your family? What happens to the house that they live in? What happens? And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Life insurance, but how long does that last? Like,
yeah.
So my wife at the time quit her teaching job to become basically to stay at home. She was pregnant and all that. Now she's basically got her own business running, but at the time it was scary. And so I said, man, I need to create a business that's way more passive than active. And that also rolled into me leaving KW Productivity Coaching as well. But I also left the locker room because I was VP of the business development division there as well. And all I did was spend my time focusing on how do I create life passive.
Right.
The Pass Play was born. And what that is it's a database, your database, circle of influence, that you communicate with in a systemized way. We got life updates and 3 call to actions that happen with these people. and you pull out referrals. Once that referral is pulled out, you pass it to an agent to execute that deal for you at a certain referral fee. And there are a few, obviously, things that need to happen, but it might take, if you're doing buyers and sellers, 30 minutes a day. If you could do that, then you could create up to, I mean, we've done 5 figures a month on something very passive, just the database kicking off leads. And so once we figured that out, we said, man, we got to create the reason why we've created the course is because if I do die, the course is going to a virtual assistant. The virtual assistant's going to be trained up, and the virtual assistant's going to run the database. So it's like, it's a systemized way for every agent to get out of the business or never start in the business. You can get your license today and run the pass play immediately and never step a foot in the business, but create more money than the average agent makes compared to NAR. So, and it's passive. There's all these cool little ways this whole real estate game.
It's funny. After we, left Remax, we realized that, you start talking to more people because we're centered around our companies. And when you start diving out and seeing what else is out in the industry, there's so many different ways that we can create other sources of income through doing programs like that, or doing some like coaching, or through residuals, through now they're like utility signups, we can get paid on utility bills, and all these other different avenues that you've never heard about. And it's like when you open your mind and actually start exploring, it's like, holy cow, got these little checks coming in from different places. I've never even heard of an affiliate link before until I started connecting with our vendors, and it's like, cool, I'll be on your show, and I'll drop a link for an affiliate link, drop a link for you if anybody signs up. I'll get PayPal deposits every day in my account from someone from a show from 6 months ago. And I'm like, how are they searching? So I actually know people are following the audience, which is cool. Because we're seeing that they're logging into something, and it's from, December or whatever it was for it. So it's pretty cool when all that stuff comes around. So it's like really expand your mind. I'm going to have to dive in and check out your pass play.
Yeah, so I would say this too. Sit down. I just did this like 2 weeks ago. Sit down and count your streams of income.
Yeah.
Because when we did, I was very surprised at how many streams of income we have. Because one of them is LionDesk, which is our CRM, because they have an affiliate link.
Yep.
And we push it. So it's kind of interesting. We sell merchandise like these T-shirts. We sell these T-shirts, by the way, all states in the United States. But that's there's all these different ways. Absolutely. But I would challenge you to sit down and really count those out. Give yourself some time, and then kind of sit back and pat yourself on the back.
So we'll do that, because we got a nice weekend coming up. So we're gonna sit down. Our goal is to sit down and like do some mid-year business planning and see where things are at. So this is something else we can add to that list to go through. Yeah. So what? So we're going to be talking with our team about Track Plus, going over the 16-week program. What are some ideas that agents can get out of Track Plus to help excel their career? What are like some of the main things they're going to pull out of that?
Contacts obviously is a thing, but definitely they're going to push hard on making 5 a day. Okay. Also building out your database. Also building out your priorities within your calendar and calendar work as well. But then it's like we were talking about earlier, there you will see that type of tailored thing in there to where it is not just a model, it's going to be tailored per your personality and who you are, which obviously I love. They're constantly changing track as times change. I think it's the 3rd time since I've been back with the locker room, and that's been 7 or 8 months. It's changed 3 times just as things evolve, like COVID, and
right. That's the thing. You go to some of these old coaching programs, it's still the same thing over and over. Let's talk about like what's, and that's one of the things I asked when I was looking at the system, do you guys ever evolve and change stuff because of COVID and other things that are going on in the world? Some people don't want to come into an office, or some don't have an office. Like, how do we get the systems out there?
Exactly. 100%.
So cool. So it's like just diving in, and I like you've got the course. So it's going to be numbers tracking and other stuff, which I think people need to do. And it's literally like we use CTE. It takes 30 seconds to click on the daily schedule button. I made 14 calls. I got 3 answers, whatever the things are. If you didn't have any buyer appointments, cool, put 0, but hit enter at the bottom. So at the end of the month, we can see what your numbers truly are.
Exactly.
And, you know, dialing in there.
What sports do you follow? Like, what's your number one sport you follow?
My son's baseball. I'm not
Baseball.
I'm not a I want to say I'm not a big sports fanatic. So you were to ask me what my favorite baseball team was, it's the Pittsburgh Pirates, only because my cousin pitched for them back in the 80s and 90s, and I followed him.
Right.
Now, do I follow them today? No. If the only thing I follow is the Tampa Bay Rays, and it's because they're 2 hours away, and it's like our local team.
Right. Before the pro team picked up, you said your cousin?
Yeah.
Before they picked him up, do you think they were tracking his numbers?
Oh, yeah.
How many strikeouts, how many balls? Because you said he was a pitcher, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like all of that. I mean, that just shows right there. Numbers are important. How about going to like your kid? You said your kids' baseball games, right?
Yeah, travel baseball, 13.
Travel baseball. So that's a lot of work. I know that. Yep. But so what if at the end of the game they were like, all right, everyone have a good one?
Yeah, nope. There was
no score.
Yep.
Right? And they weren't breaking down everyone's averages and this and that. That's how we get better. There's a story to be told in all of those numbers. That's how we decide who the winner is. So yeah, we are big. I love numbers. I used to hate them, by the way. Hate them. But man, when you start to figure out the language of numbers, it becomes a lot more fun. And there's a lot of the numbers are just sitting there talking to you and telling you exactly how good you are, where you need to correct things. I love them.
So we just hired he's a former NFL player to our team, and so we're excited to bring him on. He's 4 years in NFL, but he's going to be somebody who's like exactly what you're talking about. He's so used to the coaching. You got to keep doing this, and this, and if you keep doing this, you're going to get better. And because they've been drilled in so much with everything regarding the football,
right?
So I'm excited to kind of see how it goes with him because the way the coaching, because they're used to being coached on certain particular pieces.
I was talking to, that's gonna be cool, man. I would love to be sitting in that room to hear what he's done and But I was talking to also one of our clients yesterday is a seller client, and he's also an Army recruiter. And we were breaking down like how his numbers are. So they track contact attempts, contacts made, to basically the appointment, to like there's like 2 or 3 other things in between them signing on. They track everything. And he was like, dude, we know our conversions of how many people we need to talk to when somebody signed. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, dude, you would be killer in real estate. Yeah. Because that's what it is. It's just know if we're one of the most powerful armies in the world, if not the most powerful, there's numbers behind, like, this is why numbers are so important. It's very, very, very important. And there's a conversation to be told in your conversion rates to know where you need to move to in terms of your next level.
That's funny because one of our agent's spouses, the husband, is a Army recruiter. So I almost want to have him come in and talk about numbers and dive into that, because he should just get his license, come in here and sell, because he'll be the one making the calls. Sorry, I told you this week.
Oh yeah, they're hitting cold. They're broken down by zip codes.
Yeah.
So they cold call zip codes. Yeah, it's definitely a different type of dynamic, and they really dive into it. It'd be cool. Bring them into a class and be like, could you just talk to us about your conversions, your contact attempts, all of that, and your agents can kind of see it from a different perspective.
Yeah. Be interesting to dive into that, because it is a totally different business, but it's the same thing. We've got a gentleman that's joining our team. He's going to go through licensing, but he's corporately trained on the sales, and he's running the top 10 in the nation in his business, and he's still making less than 6 figures in it. I'm like, dude, you can easily pull six figures in real estate with everything you're doing, your follow up, your skills, and all that stuff. So convincing him, and now his mom was a realtor as well, so he knows the business and knows what's out there. I'm like, I'm excited to get you in, because he'll dive into all the stuff that we have going on.
Right.
Also, like yourself as an early adapter of real estate, be that trainer, that coach, and help people, become successful in it.
Yeah, he's gonna kill it.
Yeah, we're looking forward to. We're having dinner with him on Monday to kind of dive into some plans to get him out of the corporate world and into the real world. Yeah,
just figure out, and I'm pretty sure you're already good at this, to just what would be the reason why he'd want to leave.
Well. It's freedom, because he's like, I'm at lunch with him and his boss has texted him 15 times. I'm like, I'm one of your clients. You're at lunch with the client. You don't need to sit there and, it's the new boss trying to prove his point, or the new manager. and like you're at a business lunch, I'm actually might sign up for another 401k service with you or something else. So tell them to back off, but they're literally tracking every minute that they're around during that night. So he's like, I want the freedom. I want to get in real estate. I'm just scared. I'm like, dude, don't worry about it. We can handle that.
Right.
So, well, Ruben, I appreciate you jumping on today. It's been an awesome, little story here, talking about coaching. And, I love to hear why, just about different coaching models and the different things agents can get out of coaching, because there's so much from it. I've been coached for the last 10 years with a couple different models, and we gain a lot from each one of them to help build our business and expand it further. And it's, cool you're coming in the coaching side and wanting to be able to get back to the agents as well to kind of help push that forward.
Yeah. I will say, man, my first year into real estate, not only did the team hire Corcoran, but I personally hired someone from Maps.
Yeah.
And I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
I had to put it on a credit card. So, but it's what helped me leave UPS in 10 months, as a single father. So I believe in it, and it's definitely something that's constantly pushed me.
One of our guys here, he was the same thing. He's like, my cars are getting repoed. This is about 3 years ago. He's like, and I know I had a better life to live. So I ended up, while my car's getting towed away, I'm buying this coaching program on my credit card. And I knew that I had to do that. And, even though I could use the money to keep the car, let it get towed, let it get repoed, because now he's running a 6-figure business and from making that one decision. And so it's like, you got to take those little steps and interruptions along the way.
And those are the ones who excel, is the ones who are willing to take that risk, because when I started making a little bit of money, I bought the car I've always wanted, right? With the motor I've always wanted. But I sold the car, I sold it all for a lump sum to hire another coach in a different category. Because in my mindset, I was like, man, if I sell this and I get that money that I could use towards a coach, I could just buy it again.
Right.
Or buy a better version of it in the future. So, man. So
what kind of car was that?
So it was a 97 Nissan 240 SX. Because I used to have a 91 with the pop-up headlights with what they call an SR motor in it, which is a Sylvia motor. Yeah. But this one it had a Skyline motor, had an RB in it. So it was fast. It was fast. Awesome. It was crazy. If you're searching my
those are easier cars to find, and you can customize them after you get them.
Yeah.
But it's cool. Exactly. You had that asset, and I knew I needed that cash to keep developing and keep moving forward. So So I appreciate anybody who's looking at getting some coaching ideas or coaching models with the locker room. Drop comments. We'll definitely reach out to you, see what we can offer for you. Ruben's an awesome coach on that side, and keep things rolling.
Woo! You the man, Todd.
Well, happy 4th of July, everybody. You guys have a great weekend. Ruben, thanks for being on. I appreciate it.